What's up guys, Phoenix here. So today's episode is going to answer the question how to use BF109 effectively. To be exact, BF109 is a bit of a tricky plane that is, especially after you proceed through the earlier versions that are more maneuverable, you are going to find yourself in a plane that is faster but not as nimble, not as agile. So it may be a bit tricky to take down opponents with it reliably, and you need to use more advanced maneuvers, more advanced tactics to excel in it. So for example, I've seen quite a few players dogfight Spitfires in BF109. Well, this is something you don't want to do unless you really know what you are doing, and or unless you notice that the Spitfire pilot is clearly a novice. We are going to talk about energy traps. So, what does that mean? First of all, let's talk about what energy is. I will simplify it, but in the simplest form, energy is basically a combination of your speed and altitude. And the acceleration and weight also factor into it, but we don't need to make it that complicated. So basically it's physics, but again, we don't need to make it too complicated. Just knowing the altitude and speed is enough. So that is energy, and thus energy fighting refers to using maneuvers that take advantage of the energy state of you, of your plane, and of your opponent. And energy traps, to put it simply, want you to have the highest state of energy possible, but without overdoing it too much to the extent that you can't even control your plane, and making your opponent have the lowest state of energy possible. So to use a very simple example, it's basically about making the enemy stall in the air or be so slow, so out of energy that he's incapable of raising his guns at you. Basically, a point where your opponent cannot threaten you. So I'm going to show you two classic energy trap maneuvers. The first one will be against a Furyu Corsair. It will be very simple energy trap. And the other one is going to be Chandelle. As you can see, I'm climbing pretty high. My speed is low, but the altitude makes up for it for now. And now you can see the Corsair, not the one below me, but the one ahead of me. Yeah, I'm checking to make sure that my 6 is clear. Yeah, and I'm going to use a very simple energy trap on this YKZXX dude. Yeah, so you can see he's flying below me, but he's enough speed to pitch up and take me down with his guns. So what I'm doing is go up in a circular manner to cause him to run out of speed and stall out. This is what happened. He stopped. He lost speed. He was no longer able to pitch up, so I flew in and took him down easily with my 30. And now you can see that WT World guy in a Spitfire. This is the one I will use Chandelle against. So Chandelle is basically the same maneuver that I have just pulled off, but drawn out in time and space to basically make it more subtle and trap the enemy without him realizing that he's trapped. That guy dodged quite well here at the end, which made me fail to get my guns on him. So I initially was going to make a loop, but noticed that he didn't try to engage me, and so decided to just climb. And I didn't really plan to use Chandelle at first, but then realized that it was a good situation. So what I'm doing here is to keep climbing at a shallow degree, 10 degrees if I remember correctly, and yeah, and slowly turn, but not completely, not a complete U-turn. What I'm doing instead is to leave some distance that he will have to cover by turning to force him to bleed speed in this turn. And remember that I'm flying higher and still climbing, so he's bleeding speed not just by turning but also by climbing in my direction. Alright, here I decided that he ran out of energy enough for me to pull off what I'm doing here. It turned out to be a bit dangerous because he had some energy, that is some speed left, but I had enough altitude to survive, not to be hit by him, and use my flaps to do basically the same thing I did to the Corsair. And as you can see here, it was a bit tricky. I missed at first, but I still managed to get him. And this is how you basically defeat Spitfires in a 109.